Well, of course, we're expecting to hear that later today, whether that decision has actually been delayed or not. And there's plenty more going on during the rest of this week. On Wednesday, the European Commission presents its plan for a so-called banking union, and that would put the European Central Bank in charge of supervising all Eurozone lenders. Interesting idea. Also, Friday, European finance ministers will gather in Cyprus to discuss the scope of that banking union. They'll also assess the state of the crippled Greek economy and discuss the possibility of extra financial aid for Spain. So let's get the latest on the state of this European recovery, if you can call it that, or signs of one at least. Karsten CNN is the chairman of investment firm Amplitude Capital. He's right here with us in the studio. I mean, can we call this a recovery even? Because, you know what, crisis is something that we seem to talk about a lot when it comes to Europe these days. Yeah,
I don't think we're in a recovery stage yet. I mean, I think we're just seeing the materializing of the depths of the crisis, really. I mean, these countries are, you know, in such a difficult situation, and with all the austerity measures that have been put in place, predominantly by Germany, actually make the situation worse. It's very hard for them to come out of the recession. I mean, we know that the unemployment rates are super high in Greece and in Spain. In particular, youth employment was up more than 50%. That's a very difficult situation for the countries. And I think the way the aid is structured, the way the financial support is structured with this heavy austerity, it puts too much pressure on these countries and find it very hard to get out of their situation.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, you know, we talk about Mario Draghi, who, you know, I don't know how much carbon he's going to have to offset. He's been flying around Europe. He's been talking to leaders about what they need to do more fundamentally. And at the end of the day, no matter what the ECB gets up to, whether or not we have this mechanism in place Eurozone-wide, there are fundamental issues that still need to be addressed. And that's really hard to do so far as voting and voters are concerned.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, the ECB is in a very difficult situation because their core mandate is price stability to fight inflation. And that mandate is very hard to, you know, it's actually counterproductive to what they are supposed to do now, because they actually need to buy the government bonds of these countries to help them reduce their financing costs, because that's additional pressure that's on. And the other point you were alluding to, it's important for the countries to gain back their productivity. And that's the advantage actually for this case of them exiting the euro. Having a weaker currency, regaining productivity, and making an investment case. Because with them having the euro, it's very hard from an investment perspective to do something in Spain or in Greece. The costs are too high, and we will, you know, we have to see what the Troika comes up with, to what extent the countries have been able actually to, you know, to improve the situation. But when you, for example, compare labor cost in Ireland and in Greece, Ireland has made much more stronger steps towards reducing those costs and thereby creating a better situation in the country, whilst Greece is still quite reluctant. And then we have the other side of enforcing, you know, a proper legal structure in the country. I mean, just talking about tax payment and tax morale in Greek, it's a huge topic. And I think that we have a pretty long way to go.
Okay. You know, the other thing that's on the agenda this week is this whole idea of banking union. Now, given the discussion we've just been having, you sort of think, well, if I think of all the problems that a single currency would create, when you think about banking union, wouldn't you have to give up even more of your self-autonomy when it comes to, you know,
well, totally. I think that's the process we are in, and I think that's so difficult to, you know, to win the hearts of the people for, is that we need to give up autonomy if we want to rescue the euro. The problem with the banking sector is that we face huge issues in Spain and potentially also in Italy, and therefore we need a banking union. Otherwise, the problem with the concept of Europe is that we have a single currency, but we have no single fiscal policy, and a very little level of integration on the financial market side. And that's the issue we are facing now. So yes, they need to push forward on that front. They also need to push forward on the European stability mechanism, where we have the big decision in Germany of the court ruling today. If we're going to see a delay there, that's going to have a severe impact on the euro. I totally understand that the Germans, as the German people, are very reluctant to do that, but it's absolutely necessary if, you know, if we want to see a realistic chance for the euro conceptually to continue.
Okay, so much to consider in such a big week. Thank you so much for making sense of it for us, Karsten. Good to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.